Path Solutions has over 2 decades of experience building network monitoring systems designed to give you total network visibility. TotalView's automation means it can be fully deployed and configured in minutes, monitoring every device, interface, and server in your entire infrastructure. And it goes deep, collecting performance, configuration, 19 different error counters, PoE, and QoS statistics on every single interface. Now, all of this information is automatically analyzed to produce plain English answers. Problems get solved faster because more information and intelligence is brought to bear. This is what total network visibility is all about, knowing more about your network than with any other solution. TotalView is easy to acquire, as everything is included in the core offering: NetFlow, diagramming, path mapping, server monitoring, network automation, IPAM, cloud service monitoring, and more. Putting your trust in a monitoring system can require a leap of faith. From inception, TotalView has a more secure architecture and build process that helps to protect their customers. Contact Path Solutions today, where you can learn more about their competitive upgrade program, Total Network Visibility, rapidly deployed. Find out more at www.pathsolutions.com. Tony, my friend.
Jordan, I'm telling you, I said it last time. I'm going to say it again. That freaking ad is killer, man.
Oh, man.
If you guys didn't know, I'm talking here. If you know, Jordan made that. He made it with his own 2 hands. Yep. It's sweet.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Oh, man. So Tony, I just had a big scare. It was really funny. I had YouTube up on the streaming machine because I was doing some testing, and it turns out that on YouTube, when the stream starts, the video starts, and so our intro went through, and then it went to the ad, and just as the ad had started playing, it sounded like our intro started again, and I'm in panic mode. Like, oh no, like, why is this repeating? I'm looking for, like, how do I dump out of it in the settings here? And then it turned out I was the only one hearing it. So there you go. So I'm gonna recover from my panic attack for a moment. Tony, why don't you tell us, man, what have you been up to? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I had told you before we went on tonight that, like, today was a day that, like, tonight I just want to sit back in my lounge chair, have a drink, and I just want to watch your show. Like, I just want to hang out. I just want to have a good time. I don't want to be involved in too much because I'm just not with it tonight. But today actually I did something that was really cool. So I'll share this little tidbit with you. You guys can't tell, but I'm wearing a Zeke shirt. I got this shirt a couple of years ago at what is now called Zeke Week. But back then it was called BroCon. And anyone who already knows that this is a network visibility tool. So it passively listens to like a network tap or a span port, and it pulls out all kinds of information from your network. Super, super cool visibility. And that's like the out-of-the-box thing that it does. But today, I actually got to play around with some cool scripts. So actually, it'll take some of the data that it's analyzing, and actually run that against some other data, generate some timestamps, and then kick off alerts for certain things. So, I'm all into cybersecurity, and that's my focus and everything. So one of the cool things is, once a threat actor gets into your network and they take control of one computer, what's the first thing they try to do next? Right? They do something called lateral movement. They try to get to the next computer. So when you're listening on like a switch, or if they're going outside their VLAN and you're catching that through NetFlow or something, there's a couple of key indicators that you're going to see every time, right? And they all happen within a certain time frame. So instead of going to your logging source and trying to analyze these logs manually, you can just build a script that says, hey, after you see this, look for this within 5 seconds and look for this within 10 seconds. And if you see these 3 things, throw an alert. and that's just, for me, that was super cool. So that's what I was screwing around with today. And, I have some P caps that have some lateral movement in it. And so I was able to throw that into the tool and trigger these alerts and just start to understand the metrics of tuning them, right? Because they all need to be tuned to your own environment. They work out of the box, but like everything else should be tuned to your environment. So, dude, that is super cool. I absolutely love analyzing network data. It's awesome, dude. It's awesome. That gets me fired up.
It really does. Like you're like every show, man. You're fired up about PCAPs and the data that sits underneath. And
it's true. It's true. I don't know why.
No, I mean, so like to me, like I think there's fewer things more exhilarating than solving a problem by getting down to that level of detail. Usually you're banging your head against the wall before you start looking at data at that level of detail if you're troubleshooting. But I definitely understand that idea of like, okay, like this is it. Like there's nothing else. This is going to tell me what's going on. But I think you've said it a couple of times. I don't know if you've said it publicly or if you've said it to me. But it's generally true. And that is that like a lot of engineers, like they only understand like the protocols, like the protocols that they've learned. Like a lot of engineers can look at something like the interaction between the IGRP or OSPF or BGP, and like you can narrow down. Okay, I understand what that packet's doing. But there's another level when you get down to TCP/IP. In fact, we've talked about possibly doing some more here about like really getting into the nuts and bolts of TCP/IP. And I think that I'm one of those people that I know it, but I wouldn't claim any level of expertise. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I know only what I've had to know. And so I'm like, yeah, like let's get into it and get a deep dive into somebody who really, really understands TCP/IP, because I'm sure I'd pull away a few things because I definitely don't know it all. And I think I think that you digging into it, like you get excited in a way that's a little bit different because of that, because of the fact that you do it. It's like, oh yeah, like let's go in there and let's go ahead and make this happen. So that's pretty cool.
And it kind of all goes back to, again, my security focus, and I work with these security tools, and like, what are they doing but just really automated ways of looking at the packets at the byte level and either applying heuristics or signature-based matching and just being able to sort of understand, like, what are they doing? And when they throw an alert, what does that alert tell me? Like, what packets are being seen? Like, okay, it says alert, lateral movement. Okay, well, what happened? Why did that alert? What does that actually mean? And it's just something about finding that needle in a haystack just has me constantly picking at the pile.
Constantly picking at the pile. That sounds about right. That really does sound about right.
What do you got going on, Jordan? Huh?
Not a whole lot that's super exciting. I've been doing a lot. Let me rephrase that. With work, nothing that's super exciting. I've been doing just a lot of customer meetings, and it's like SASE like blew up, just absolutely blew up, at least in my world. Like I'm talking about SASE almost nonstop, and so and it kind of came out of nowhere. I think here's the problem, right? I did a webinar. or not a webinar. It was like a live stream video similar to what we're doing now. We call it a Tech 37 with Rob Boyd, who's a friend of yours, right? Like we did it together, and Mike Pfeiffer, who's been on the show a few times. He did it with me. And so like we did this on SASE, and I think that people went, oh, you know what you're talking about. So now out of the woodwork, like every call that I can, I've done multiple presentations to internal teams and talk to customers about it, and it's like, wow, all of a sudden, like this is the only thing I seem to be talking about, but it's in front of a lot of customers. So that's been most of my time. So I'm not working with any cool, fun tools or anything like that. It's more, high level overall architectures, which is I have a blast doing, but it's not very fun to talk about. On the personal side, we made a big investment this week, or at least committed ourselves to a big investment this week, and that is my family. We love to travel. Absolutely love getting out and traveling around and going and seeing the country. And we had a trip planned for later this year. We were going to do a road trip, and we did a road trip in 2018. Now this road trip was pretty epic because it was over a month long, and covered about 2/3 the United States. And we did it in a minivan. There's 5 of us. I have 3 kids. My kids are awesome travelers. So like most people would go, oh my word, 3 kids for like a month, and I just collect out my hotel points from my work travel, and, I pay for hotels and we just go out and do our thing and visit friends. And we have had a plan since 2018 to go out west and kind of do part 2 of this road trip to a lot of the places that we couldn't go to before. And this has been in the books for a while, and COVID really has put a tamper on those plans. Like, it was going to be later this year. And I had the conversation with my wife. It's like, we got to stop hyping this thing because we're going to really disappoint the kids if we can't go. Because there's a lot of plans just going to big cities and other places. Just probably not a good idea in the current climate. Who knows where we'll be come this fall, but I was starting to talk about that, and we've had a dream forever about buying an RV, and we decided that this was the perfect opportunity to kind of accelerate those plans. No hotels, boondock out in the middle of nowhere. And so it's a bit cliche, I think, right? Like, a lot of people did this in 2020, went out and did this because this was the way to travel. We were like, we'd gone to Disney right before COVID hit. So like, we were all traveled out for last year. They did 2 weeks in Disney. I didn't have any more pocketbook for travel after that. But we wanted to get out and go this year. So I bought an RV this week, which was quite an experience. And I put a deposit down on an RV, and we'll be buying an RV when it shows up. And so
now I wish I had like one of those trucker horn sound effects.
Listen, you cannot keep adding to the soundboard, Tony. So anyway, that was big news here at the Martin household. Is that's what we were up to, was buying a recreational vehicle that we're very excited about. My kids are like beside themselves excited. They're like, it's a house on wheels. It's cool. Yeah. It's
you know what they're probably going to do. My stepdad had a what do you call it, a fifth wheel, and he had it parked by the garage by his house, and his daughter, it's like my stepsister, she's much younger than me, but she would go in there and like if you went in there off season, it would be covered with like dolls and Barbies and stuffies, and like that was like, she like made it like a playhouse, for like all these animals. So that's what it's going to be for the off season for you guys. It's going to be like another hangout spot for your kids. They're going to want to like sleep in the camper overnight, whatever.
Absolutely. So that's been fun, and that's what's been going on here. Been busy with lots of Network Collective stuff, just a lot going on kind of in the background. Yeah. Recorded a cool episode this last weekend. It's not going to be out for a while, but on GRPC, which I'm excited to get that out there in March. It's going to be out in March.
Yeah, that was super cool. That was a big learning experience for me. I mean, GRPC, and first of all, I'm a noob when it comes to automation, and talking about some of the less pops to interact with devices was certainly new to me, and we got 2 awesome experts to talk about it. I call them experts because of the tiers of where I am and where they are. So to me, they're experts. I don't know how they feel about themselves, but yeah, it's really cool, and I'm excited that we'll be able to present that next month. That's right. We're nearly halfway through February already.
Yeah, it's about a month out. We've got some more recordings, obviously getting ready for these streams. They're becoming a bit more work to get ready for. So been pouring into that, and nothing but cloudy nights. Like, that's it. Like, I'm starting to get really frustrated because I want to get out and use some of my astrophotography stuff, and it's just been nothing but bad night after bad night after bad night after bad night, which is typical for winter. It's not atypical, but
that brings up 2 ideas. When you have a clear night and you can get the scope out and you get a nice night shot and you process it, we need to have that on the stream the next week. Like, it needs to be like Jordan's shot of the week. Because you've taken some cool ones and you've shared some of them, and they're really cool. I mean, it is stuff that we only see like in my background. Yeah, definitely.
Then the other thing is Zoom. I'll have to pull it in. I'll see if I can't pull it in when we have someone else on. I'll see if I can't pull one on today.
And then the other thing is when you go on your road trips, we got to take Network Collective on the road. So that's not we, but you take Network Collective on the road. I'll be here.
Absolutely. So we're starting to talk about that, right? Like in the background, like what's the logistics going to look like? Because this road trip V2 is going to be even longer than the first one. We're going to be out for probably 2 months. Now, part of that is because of the fact that we got an RV, I can work from the road. And so we're actually stopping for longer periods of time because if we're go, I'm driving, I can't be working. And so the thing is, we'll stop somewhere where I have connectivity and I can work for 2 or 3 days. My family can go out and check out the area, whatever. I can hang out at nights. I'll take a couple days for myself while we're in that area, and then we'll head on to the next place. And so it became a longer trip, but I'm using a whole lot less vacation to make it happen. And so with that, there's a convenience factor there. But also with that, that means that we're going to have to start planning like, yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make every Wednesday for live streams, but I'm going to try to make as many of them as I can. And when I do, Tony will be in control of everything. He'll be running the show. Yep. He's getting all the controls, and I will be the one calling in as a remote guest, kind of, flipping roles here. But yeah, I definitely want to do that. And then I can share my adventures, as there's lots of really unique, interesting places that I'm planning on going. So and moreover, I think sharing some of like the cool road tech, that you take with you. How do you stay connected on the road? How do you stay connected in the boonies? So like sharing some of that adventure, it would be really cool. I'm so deep into that right now. Like, what do connectivity's options look like? Like Starlink has opened up more. There's been a lot of people who I've seen, like friends and associates and peers across the networking space who've been, finally got in on the pre-order for Starlink because they went from narrow beta to a wider beta. But one of the things that they don't have yet is mobility. And so you can't take your Starlink unit and take it from one place to another. So it's not relevant for like traveling with a motorhome right now. And so, I'm now like ready to start getting on Twitter and begging Elon, like, hey, Elon, like, mobility, because that would be awesome for these places where it's out in the middle of nowhere. Now, a lot of places still have connectivity, but it's spotty, and I'm going to be end up living off the cell network quite a bit. And with that, like, there's a whole lot of architecture that goes into making all of that happen in a reliable way. And being the network geek that I am, you better believe, like, I'm already thinking about it. I was having conversations with some other guys today who also have RVs, and like, what are you doing? How does that work? And so yeah, there'll be some interesting things there. I could definitely show the mobile connectivity options of keeping a vehicle online when you don't have any idea where you're going. There's lots of interesting little, network components.
I'd like to see you turn on the data sharing on your entire family's set of cell phones and then bond them all together and see what you can get. So you can't do it by load sharing across the 4 LTE links.
But you can do it across multiple cell modems inside of a wireless router or a 5G or 4G router. You absolutely can bond them together. So there's some cool tech around that, from active and failover between difference. And of course, you have different coverage areas depending on where you're at. And unfortunately, many places we're going are like national parks where there are no cell towers. And so with that, like, you're just out of luck unless you have satellite, and traditional satellite isn't functional for working day to day, right? Like it's just not a functional thing to do day to day because of the fact that the latency is so high. So with low Earth orbit, rather than geostationary orbit, like Starlink is and some of these other networks that are coming online, it makes it much more feasible because your latency is down to something where you can maintain a real-time call across it, so long as you can maintain connectivity. And so yeah, there's lots of interesting components there and lots of interesting things to talk about. So yeah, that's what I have going on. That's been fun here in the Martin household.
Jesse from chat says Jordan needs to ditch the ball cap for a captain's hat now that he's an RV owner. I picture you having like the skipper from Gilligan's Island, the skipper's hat.
Is that what I need to do?
I'm gonna get you one.
You buy me one, I will wear it on a stream. Absolutely. 100%.
All right. That's a done deal.
All right. That's a done deal. All right. So I think first up, man, we want to do our qualifier for our trivia today. So I want to get people involved. Yeah. So if you weren't around last week, we had a lot of fun with this. First off, I see that, and we have Laz is on. He's going to be sharing his war story, but he's not up yet. He's going to be up in a little bit, but Laz gets an immediate video feed from us on the question. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch which video source he gets so that he doesn't see anything. He gets none. So that should have solved that problem. Laz, can you nod if you can hear us but can't see anything? He's being a jerk about it, so it means it's true. All right. So Laz, if you want to play, and I absolutely want you to win because it sure makes my life a lot easier. But you have to go out and actually like see the stream to do it, and I'll give you a couple seconds to get out there and get connected. So let me bring it up.
Yeah, so if you weren't around last week, we started doing some fun network trivia.
Yeah.
It's really just sort of general trivia all together, and it's open to everyone who's in chat or anyone who can see our stream and who can put in the pin. We do our trivia on Kahoot. It's been a great way to share the platform with everybody. And what we're doing, this is the qualifying rounds. We want everyone to be able to play, as many people as possible, and we're going to take the top two people, the top two finishers, and if they can, we want to have them call into the show a little bit later on and actually do a head-to-head with one another, a head-to-head, and then we're going to pick, we're not going to pick the winner, then someone is going to win, and we have some cool prizes and stuff for them, so that's very awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna kick it over here, Tony, because this is going to be the two of us. So that's the app right there. So you're going to go to kahoot.it and you're going to put in that game pin. And if you want to be involved, if you're in the chat now and watching us live, if you're anywhere else and watching us live, because we stream like everywhere now, if you're watching us, please absolutely go and join in. We'll wait a few minutes for players to join. Hey, look, there's Laz. There's Laz. He's in, like I said, Robot Master 2K. So yeah, this was a lot of fun last week, and it worked really well. I unfortunately put an EIGRP question in the final round, which had Donald Sharp in it, which really was an unfair advantage, I think. All right, just two today, Tony. You haven't seen these questions. You can jump in if you want, man. All right, got Mark H. JM's evil twin. All right, and so just to kind of give you, if you have not used Kahoot before, Kahoot grades you on how quickly you answer the question. So there's some questions in here that are going to be obvious. There's some that are just esoteric and weird, and don't feel bad if you don't get them. There's some tech. And there's a lot of just kind of like random trivia questions, mainly because I've got to find them all and I'm copying them off of lists elsewhere, trying to find ones that are at least somewhat interesting. But I think I'm going to abandon the geek culture only type other questions because that's a limited set. So you get graded not only for answering correctly, but how quickly you answer. So if you want to win, be first. No, don't just be right. Be first as well. We've got a few more. All right. Excuse me. So, with that being said, we'll get started. You ready, Tony?
I'm ready. All
right. Oh, one more in here? Neil. All right. So let's do it.
Hit it.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We really need to get music. I didn't run out of time today. So here we go. Which country produces the most coffee in the world?
Wow. It's one of these?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's see what happens. I took a stab at that one.
All right. Now, I also, last week, I had done 20 seconds on the questions, and it was really, really short by the time the stream got out there, and people didn't really have a lot of time. So look at that. 5 people who got it right. Brazil. Tony, were you in it?
No, I picked Chile.
Chile. All right. So let's see. I could have just looked at the leaderboard. I didn't have to ask you. Nice job, Mark. All right, doing the next one. And don't look at that keyboard because it's the wrong format.
What?
I didn't put a standard keyboard up there. You can't cheat. I mean, you can cheat off the keyboard that's sitting right in front of you, but then it's just a matter of speed.
On that keyboard? No. Which is the only vowel on a standard keyboard that is not on the top line of letters? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. This was a speed question. This was how fast can you think about it? All right. Let's see. All right. Neil was quick on that one. And I'm kind of curious who's who, like with the names. All right. Who starts first in chess? This should be an easy one, especially if you watched The Queen's Gambit or if you play chess.
I answered this one quick, like I knew what it was, but really I was guessing.
Okay.
So if I actually climbed the leaderboard, it's because I took a guess and because I get a faster feed than the rest of you. And I got it wrong.
Yeah, Tony's score doesn't count, by the way, because he gets to see the questions about 10 seconds before everybody else.
Fun. Yeah, I'm just
absolutely.
having fun.
All right. 4 and 4. Sounds like that's a fair question then. I like it. All right. Robot Master 2K, man, on fire. We already have our first person on fire. This is great. Okay.
Wow.
Moving on to the next one. Here we go. In OSPF, the router LSA is...
Bum, bum, bum. I make my own sound effects.
Do you?
I love the Cisco guy. I know what you're thinking. EGRP is better than OSPF. If you guys haven't taken the time to appreciate the memes that Jordan is pumping in here with the questions, they're solid.
It's Smug Cisco guy. You have to include Smug Cisco guy. All right.
Let's see. Survey says.
All right. Doing well. Not bad. Okay. Oh, look at this. Robot Master 2K in the lead. Now Mark H is on fire. So what language, what spoken language has the most words?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to take a guess on this one, but I think I've always had this notion, right? I always remember like when I was in grade school, you know, and you were like learning the alphabet or you're learning another language, you know, maybe in middle school, high school. And they're like, you're lucky you're not learning because, you know, they got 125 letters, you know, so
right.
It's all hearsay at this point. I don't know it to be factual, but I'll take a guess.
It is English. English has the most words. So I think you were thinking about probably Mandarin because Mandarin has...
I'll let myself out.
Don't go. I need you, Tony. No, English has the most words. I think they have more characters, right? Because they have more characters that represent words. But because of that, they have a lot more that have multiple meanings that they kind of get reused. And so we have just more words. All right. Look at that. Robot Master 2K, man. Just killing it. Next up, how many phases of the moon are there? Tony's looking. He's trying to read the meme.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the meme. I have our video from our feed shrunken in the corner, so it's a postage stamp. It's like a postage stamp.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's small when you're on the other side. All right, 4 people getting the right answer.
Incorrect. Oh man, I went with 4 phases of the moon.
You're thinking they're shared, but there's waxing and waning. So there's 4 phases.
So 4 coming in, 4 leaving.
Yep. All right.
And Neil says the world is flat, moon is fake.
I should have put that answer on here. That would have been awesome. All right.
There is no moon.
so that's what I have to do. It's not just the meme in the picture. I have to add the meme in the answer as well if there's an opportunity, and that would have been perfect. Neil, that's right on, man. All right. Back to technical. In the IP packet header, which is transmitted first? The source IP
my man Andre?
Or the destination IP?
Come on, buddy.
All right.
All right. Some of these questions I made up.
That's true.
I mean, I didn't make up. You contributed to the pool. Yes.
Yeah. 3 and
Wow,
3.
even
Wow.
split. No kidding. Wow.
Right.
Holy cow.
All right.
Wow.
Robot Master 2K is still killing it and pulling away. He's on it. I don't know who that is, but I'm assuming it's he.
It's got to be Donald. It's got to be Donald.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? All right. All right. Back to languages. How many languages is C3PO fluent in?
I love the meme.
This is the best part. I mean, this is really time intensive to come up with the questions and the answers and all of that. But the best part is finding the right picture to go along with it.
Oh my God, this is perfect. I want a way to like save these memes, you know.
All right.
Wow, I got that one wrong too.
Tony, you're not doing very well tonight.
No, I'm terrible.
All right.
And stick with the networking questions, will you?
No, see, here's the thing. And if you hadn't noticed from last week, if you played last week, the final was way more networking heavy than the qualifier. The qualifiers, it's random. You're going to hit or miss just based off of what mood I was in when I started collecting the questions that day. So, all right. Look, Robot Master 2K continues on. Impressive. All right. All right. How many black keys are found on a traditional piano? You got 4 options, Tony. And that's not a traditional piano, in case you're wondering.
Well, we know a full piano has, they call it 88 keys. Mm-hmm. So that's our reference point.
Yeah.
Now, does that number include the black keys? I'll go with this one.
Oh, look at that. More right than wrong, except for Tony. I see him shaking his head.
I said 34.
Okay, close enough though. I mean, that's really.
I take these honest mistakes.
All right, here we go. So that was 9 of 13. Moving right along. Okay. What is a group of turkeys called? I saw this one, and I didn't know. And so.
Well then, what's a gaggle? Oh, gaggle is geese.
Geese.
Okay.
Yeah.
A gaggle of geese. Okay, I'll go with this one.
All right. We'll see if that's the right one. So I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who had no idea what a group of turkeys is called. Not a clue. Before I
what
found
is
this
a
question.
clutch? A clutch is something, right?
It is. I have no idea what it is. You think I'm smart about this kind of stuff?
A clutch of something.
All right. All right. That was question 10 of 13. So here's the deal, Tony.
You guys didn't know that you were getting a YouTube show and drop in knowledge. I mean, just straight up. Now you get to walk away with that. At tomorrow's water cooler, you get to go, hey, pal, do you know what a group of turkeys is called? Yeah, a rafter. I just saw it last night on the Network Collective live stream.
Have you been hanging around a lot of water coolers lately, Tony? Because I don't know about
it's just me. It's just me talking both sides.
Yeah, having conversations with yourself at this point. That's not surprising. All right. Look at that. Look at Robot Master went up on that question. So whoever that is, he knows what's up. Either that or he's searching my questions to find the answers and doing it faster than anybody else. One of the two. What was Google's original name? What was the original name of Google? It was one of those.
All right. I'll go with what I think it is.
All right.
Based on the meaning of the word.
Okay. Yeah. You see my meme on this one?
Okay, Google, your mic is muted, Demi. But how did you know? Never mind. Here's some ads. Back rub?
Back rub. It was.
All right. Listen, if you're in the chat, fact check this guy. He's slipping them in. We have no clue. He's just selecting random things.
Tony, just because you got it wrong doesn't mean I have making them up. Although I might make one up every once in a while just for the fun of it and see if I can't get away with it. Like maybe a group of turkeys. We'll see. All right. Whoa, Laz. Look at Laz climbing up the charts. All right. Here we go. 12 of 13. What company did the founders of YouTube work for before starting YouTube? If you're trying to read the small print, it says, I'm once again asking for you to try YouTube Premium. Yes.
Yeah, good one.
So where did they work?
Is it too late for me to still claim first place?
I think you have one more question, so.
No, I got this one wrong.
PayPal. A lot of people did. Yeah, PayPal.
I'm an eBay man myself.
Are you? Yeah, is that what it is? All right, we're the last question. So, Tony.
All right, here it is, everybody. This is the last question. This is the one.
You need to take advantage of your expedited forward, permissions here with the stream, and you just need to mash one of them and hope that it's right. Because I think it's the only way. The only way that you're
all right,
in.
let's see. Hang on, I'm gonna hit a sound effect.
All right. Oh, this keyboard shortcut creates a new folder in Microsoft Windows. Uh-oh.
All right, I think I got that one quickly.
Yeah, you created the question. I'd hope so. I'd sure hope so. All right.
And the reason I know this one is because I used to have to RDP into a server, and I had to create a ton of new folders. And so the right click was always delayed. And so you wouldn't right click and get the pop up. Then you had to hover over and go down to new folder and click. So I just did boom, 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 boom. And it was stack, stack, stack.
Awesome. All right. So I think we're going to find out the results next. So here we go. All right. So
wow.
I don't know who either of these people are. So they're going to have to identify themselves in chat. Even better, here's the deal. You can send me an email. I'm not going to put it in chat, but it's my name, Jordan. It's up there on the screen at networkcollective.com. If either of you are in our Slack, you can send me a DM in Slack. I'm also there. But for place number 1 and place number 2, and Laz, you disappoint me, man. You make me do extra work now. You needed to come in top 3, and that's not quite there. In fact, let me get you back so you can get your video directly. If you were one of these top 2, we'd like to have you back on the show. This show, in probably about 15 minutes. So if you shoot me an email or you shoot me a DM, I will shoot you contact information, or not contact information, connect information to connect on. And we'd like to have you on to do a final round. It's just 5 questions. Like I said, it's a bit more technical than the first one, but we want to invite our friends, our people who hang out with us, onto the stream with us. We don't want to just do this just the 2 of us. And so we'd love to have you on to do that. If Robot Master 2K is Donald Sharp, which I think might be likely, he already won last week. Do we invite him on again? I mean, I guess he can claim this place. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
9 out of 13. Not bad. Not bad.
And I would just like to give everyone a nice round of applause, if I can.
Can you do it?
I clicked the button, but it doesn't work.
I got it. Oh, I got it, Tony. I'll take care of you.
I don't know what's going on with the sound effects, man. I clicked the button, it doesn't work.
It's because you went and you messed up Zero Tier. Maybe you should watch some of our previous sessions.
Yes, it's true.
You did them, and you messed it up doing those previous sessions. You said you blew up Zero Tier for the purposes of kind of cleaning things out. All right. Well, man, that was fun, and hopefully I get some information here soon from those who won. And let's see.
Who was the second name? The second name was
Janeway.
Janeway. Is that
okay?
Is that someone's name, or is that like a character's name?
I don't know. So one was Donald Sharp. Donald, you absolutely are welcome to come back on. You can defend your championship. You could be a 2-week. He's the first, right?
Wow.
But
2-week reigning champion.
Reigning champion. He could come in and continue. I think that's a great idea. All right. Catching up on some of those other things. That's no moon. Nice.
Yeah. I don't know who is Janeway, and I don't know did we get everyone into play? Neil Hanlon, thanks for playing. I saw your name up there a whole bunch. Yep. Laz was in there a whole bunch. So the reason Jordan was mad about that is Jordan has to populate our nameplate here in the video. And he doesn't want to have to do it twice.
Oh, and I also have to get them contact information to get in. And I've got it's like I get to, we're going to put Laz up on screen here and let him do his thing. And then I'm going to, scramble around in the background, getting everybody connected. So yeah, we keep mentioning Laz. We should bring him on.
Yeah. Where's Laz? Is he here?
Laz has been connected since we started the show. There he is.
Laz is
hey guys, how's it going?
So Laz, I watched Laz as he connected. So one of the things I can see when someone is connected is I can see like their video even though they're not on screen, and I watched Laz working to find the exact right green screen background. There was a moon at one point, and that would have been relevant.
That's my normal one.
Yeah,
so that's my normal background I use when I'm on video calls. But I was like, I didn't know if that's royalty free or not. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't put that on the YouTube page, right?
Thank you for considering our copyright strikes and things like that. So I took a big risk last week. This would have been number 2. I played a clip of a movie last week because of my war story, and you'd have to go back and watch it all. I won't rehash it. But yeah, I played a clip of a movie last week, and I'm like, I sure hope that this is obscure enough of a movie and no one's out there looking for automatic copyright strikes because I was putting it out there. All right. So Laz, yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah,
so Laz, you're on. You came on to share one of your tales from the trenches. So we want to we want to hear about your pain, your most dramatic experiences. We really just want to hear what you've gone through because there's so much value. I'm getting an echo back from you, so I'm going to mute you for a second. There's so much value in hearing other people's experiences, so hopefully that we can learn from them without having to experience them ourselves. And if nothing else, it is somewhat cathartic to be able to go back and laugh at ourselves with our friends after the crazy things happen. Because for one reason or another, for a job that is a desk job where most of us either are sitting behind a desk or in a data center, we have more than our fair share of stories that are pretty dramatic and weird situations. We had Chris Cummins go on and talk about being dropped off in the middle of Alaska in the snow.
That's one of the best. Out of a helicopter.
I had my
just a normal ride to work when you're in Alaska.
You're a space network engineer and you've been rocketed to the space station. How do you compete against that?
All right, Laz. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you your space to tell your story. We're going to back off. We'll make your video nice and big, and we'll let you go and we'll chime in. I know, super fancy, right? And we'll chime in if we've got any questions or thoughts. But man, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Well, wait. You know what? Actually, what we have to do here is we need to do like a background. Since the three of us are in green screen, we need to do a background where we're sitting at like a late night talk show. We're like the one person behind the desk, like I'm the sidekick, and we got the guest Laz, and he's in here. He's sitting in between us. We're talking to him. That's what it has to be.
I kept trying to look for like a masterpiece theater, like fireplace background. That should be the perfect background for this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Maybe next time.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Laz.
I'll see what I can put together, Tony.
Yeah.
All right.
So as I begin this tale, I haven't quite figured out whether it's a tale of triumph, a tale of overpromising, or a tale of like the epitome of being a junior engineer trying to make your name. So it starts back in 2008, 9, somewhere around there, just after the banking crash. I was working for a small bank somewhere. and we get this call. We all get brought into the staff room to discuss. Of course, it's right after that, so everybody's freaking out, right? We're in banking. It's 2008. Everybody's like, oh well, we're done. We walk in, and lo and behold, we're told that, hey, you guys are you've been such a good bank. You guys have managed to handle your stuff so well that we're going to be given another bank that's failing, something along those lines. And so that's great, right? Everybody's happy. And then someone says, but in like 7 days, we have to be able to accept deposits and work with customers in the branches. That's like impossible at the time. This was still way back then. VPN was still kind of, I wouldn't say new, but it was definitely not the same thing it is now. We didn't have SD-WAN or anything. So we get this fancy idea. We had just finished doing, had a really successful run of putting like ATMs using like DSL and some little ASAs to make them work. And we're like, well, here's what we'll do. We'll put a little baby office and we'll put them in the branches that we just bought, and we'll just hook them up to the internet there. And great, right? Me and my boss are all aligned. We think it's a great idea. In hindsight, this probably should have been better planned, because it was literally happened within like 8 days. I basically get on the horn. We find some ASA, some old ASA 5500s, little 5505s. We start looking. We were like, okay, we're just going to ship them to these sites. We're going to do all this fun, all this cool stuff. Or we'll put a PC, a printer, and a phone, part of the phone system there. Great. The Friday before, we get told by the branches that, oh no, we don't actually provide our own network. Our network was provided by another bank who we were a child of. And they've told us that if you plug anything in, they'll just shut down the entire bank. We will not be able to do any banking transactions. They had a NAC solution, and they said that if they saw us on their network, we were done. Of course, we have some very difficult talks with them. Nothing happens, and so basically on Friday night, I have sent 3 people to go to 3 different cell phone stores to find little 3G modems, because I had just saw that Best Buy had started selling those little Cradle Point modems, like the very first version of them. And I'm like, okay, so we'll get this little USB card, we'll put it in, we'll get it set up. I have people driving like 4 counties away to pick these up to try to get these in service. At the same time of this, right, I'm trying to build all of the configs for all of these devices. It was like 10 or 12 different devices. And the idea was okay, I'll put them into one of our data centers. And then as I put it in, I realized, oh man, this was still a small branch, right? So we still had we had just moved away from managed services, and we were just starting to do BGP. Everything was still static route. It was a mess. And I'm like, you know what? This would be a great time for me to set up dynamic routing between our data centers. That is the worst decision I could have made at that point. And I go ahead and I set all this. Basically I say, okay, I'm going to come in on Friday. I'm going to take care of all this config. I'll push it on Saturday, and cool. That did not happen. I basically spent. It took me all night to get just the ASAs configured. It was. I had tons of problems with the VPN, and at that time, I was very headstrong, and so I was not going to call TAC. I spent the entire time figuring it out on my own, building my own crypto maps. I ended up getting everything built out and working. And then I had the monstrous task of converting a couple of data centers from being 2 separate small EIGRP instances into this triangle BGP craziness. And long story short here, really, I get everything configured, but it has now been, I have not slept since Friday afternoon, and it is now Sunday, like actually it was later. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I get 2 hours of sleep in like 2 days. I am dead asleep. I wake, I get everything set up. I'm very proud of myself at that point. The amount of 5-hour energy I have drank is obscene. I then go ahead and start driving all the way across the state. This was not something happening where I was, and I needed to be close to the data center in case that I messed something up, because out of band was not an option. So I then hoofed it across the state to go ahead and deploy all of these little firewalls. And I basically spent the entire the rest of the day, like the next 18 hours, were spent with the IT team going through and deploying all of these little branches that were like these little tiny box branches in each of these locations. And we quickly learned, like 3G is not the greatest of mediums. And so we spent hours and hours trying to get stuff working and tweaking stuff. But at the end of the day, we got everything working except for one, where I end up trying to make the EIGRP, not the EIGRP, I made the 3G modem work. And I basically had to grab like the little cradle point modem and put it against a window and get it like perfectly facing, running down. And amazingly enough, we actually had VoIP calls running on 3G networks in a somewhat of a sustainable fashion. And the funniest thing that happened wasn't even to me. It ended up being that one of our people had gone to go get a printer. And when they went to go get the printer, they forgot to unset the alarm, or they didn't put their pin right. And so they came out with a giant printer in their hands and like 4 cop cars, like saying, lift your hands up. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Right. But it ended up being that we had successfully accomplished this. But what it did teach me is be careful what you promise, and be careful and always be ready to actually plan something out, even when you're on a time crunch, because that's how you end up not sleeping for 2 days and probably doing enough 5-hour energy abuse that one day I'll end up paying for it. And that is my story.
Wow. I just thinking, as I hear this like constant envelope of decisions being opened further and further and further, that's some ballsy decisions. Just go to Best Buy, get some of those 3G things. We'll make them work. Don't worry about it.
We had a time crunch. Well, to be honest, we were in a time crunch. Yeah, like back then, that was like serious stuff, right? Like everybody's pooping their pants about like, if you're in banking, you're like, am I going to have a job tomorrow, right? And so there was this big push to say, hey, we got to get this done. And this was a really good opportunity that had we not done it, I think we would have been impacting. I think what we ended up doing, this is where I say it's a story of triumph, because it actually did turn out very good. And I will say this, for if any of the guys that I worked with back then, they were like the best guys you could ever have. So if you guys are ever watching this, just know, shout out to you all. But yeah, just because, like, especially like for new people, like if you're a new,
yeah.
Uh-oh. He didn't wait.
Oh no. Last night.
I gave that credential out, so give me a second. I'm sorry, Laz.
No, we know exactly what happened. Laz ran up his time. That was the end.
That's it. We cut him off.
That's it.
Yeah.
I keep a tight watch around here. Okay. No, Laz, seriously, sorry about that.
Yeah. So Donald, you were supposed to wait.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
The Donald waits for no man.
The Donald waits for no man. So Tony, guess what's going to be
finish the story?
Yeah. So what happened next? What happened next, Donald?
So the gnomes.
Oh.
All right, I'll get out.
All right, Laz, join back in. All right, buddy. So Tony. Tony, guess what's getting accelerated on the to-do list?
Individual credentials for guests.
Yeah. So remember how I said like I definitely wanted to create 2 unique call-ins just for the game? Yeah, we probably should do that. So lesson learned. That's all right. Hey Laz, you could jump back in. Let me send him a message here.
I just wanted to say that out of Laz's story, I think that 2 things resonated with me a lot, which were now's probably the perfect time for me to change the dynamic routing from EIGRP over to BGP. Since we'll be down anyways, I'll just go ahead and do it. I don't know how many maintenance windows that were scheduled for problem A. We try to squeeze in a few extra things because we're like, well, while we're in there, I might not have another 6 months until I can clean this interface up. And then you clean the interface up, but what you did was wipe the config and you killed the WAN link, and so now you have to drive there.
Yeah.
That's never happened to anybody,
All right, so Laz is back.
Donald was impersonating me. I don't know what happened. My face just changed. It was fantastic.
So what is this about the gnomes?
Apparently there were some gnomes that were apparently heat-seeking.
So it's really funny because it brought back some memories for me because I used to, in fact, my first tech job was at a bank, a community bank. It had like 12 branches. And it was always nerve wracking, like working off hours in a bank, because there is just there's a special relationship between local police offices and the banks that they have around them. Like bank robberies, although they happen so infrequently, seem to sit high on the list of things that people are worried about, probably because of the heightened, amount of money that goes missing. And it was always nerve wracking when you're doing after hours in a branch. Because if you were doing after hours work in a branch, cops would just pull in randomly and shine lights into the windows and just make sure that everything was looking okay. And if you were carrying a printer, even inside, mean, there were multiple times that I had conversations with police officers and had to tell them, hey, I am who I say I am. Please don't arrest me as I'm doing my job. Yeah.
or your nervousness as you input alarm codes and stuff, because it's not like, oh, the alarm went off, I'll go turn it off. It's all right, I gotta wait for the police, or even better, right? Like banks put the fear of God into you. Like, don't put where you work. Don't tell people where you are. Make sure that don't ever post anything on social media. It was, I mean, social media was still new. I mean, Facebook was brand new back then, but I mean, I don't think any of that's changed. It's still the same. Banking is a special place.
Banking is a special place, and at every level of banking, all the way from community banking all the way up to global financial, there's different ways that it's special, but it's special at every single level.
And you're always 5 years behind on technology. That's just a given. Oh, you want to try the new stuff? Financial space might not be the place for you.
Right. It's funny how that is. They have the money, but they are the most careful or one of the more careful industries in deploying it, and because they don't want to see it get blown up. So Laz, man, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. Tony, did you have anything else you wanted to ask or?
No, but I was just going to say that the other thing that resonated with me was the 5-hour energy drinks. I mean, that has gotten me through so many nighttime cutovers, but one time in particular, we were on this cutover for 2 weeks. I was on travel. I was out in Arkansas, and we went to the local Walmart and bought a cooler with ice and bought a case of Red Bull and 2 cases of 5-hour energy, put them in the cooler, cracked the ice over top. And that sustained us for 2 weeks because we were only allowed to work at night. So we would come in at 5 p.m., kind of get started. And by 7 o'clock, we were working till 7 a.m., and then we were going back to the hotel to sleep. And so it was just 5-hour energies all the time. And so what we ended up doing, I hope now that I've told this story, I can dig up a picture. We had 1 5-hour energy left. And so we had all these racks of gear, right? And we put the last 5-hour energy bottle on top of the top piece of gear with a note that says, in case of network outage.
That's awesome.
And like, I
inverse.
went back there like years later, and like our cooler was still there, right? We weren't flying home with a cooler. The cooler was still there, but the 5-hour energy was long gone.
I had the inverse. We used to do these cuts like as part of these crazy bank mergers, whatever you want to call it. And there would be, you know how like nowadays at tech companies you have like the smorgasbord of snacks and food. We had a smorgasbord of 5-hour energy, Monster, and Red Bull, like an entire card table full of Costco-sized boxes of this stuff, and everybody just power chugging all day long. And I mean, for those of us who've been in the business, like we abuse this stuff. I don't know about you, but I think there's been a lot of that. And man, it gets you through the night when you need to.
So actually, the thing that changed my relationship with 5-hour energies was on that trip after about the 9th day. Okay, after about the 9th day, I woke
Started
up
seeing elephants.
I woke up in the middle of my sleep with like the most killer Charlie horse leg cramp. So much that like I'm a grown man. I was like keeled over, holding my leg, crying in the hotel room by myself because it hurt so bad. And it was because I was drinking nothing but B6 and B12, no water. You know what I mean? I was never replenishing my body with water. It was a lot of coffee, you know, and we were up at night. So yeah, so it caused me like so much physical pain. At that point, I realized like I was having caffeine headaches, you know, I mean,
when you're abusing the energy drinks, you drink water, man.
Moderation.
All right. We do have to get moving here, Laz. So I do appreciate you coming on and talking, and we will we'll catch you next time. Can you please win the trivia next time? Although you're not going to be on next time, so.
I was trying not to win. I had your feed was still showing on. I was still 7 seconds ahead of everybody, so I was like just trying like to wait longer than everybody else.
Look at you being a gentleman.
How nice.
All right, Laz.
All right, guys.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. See ya.
Working in banks. Wow. I don't miss that at all. Okay, so give me 2 seconds here, Tony.
Yeah, I can understand how branches might have some antiquated technology, you know, maybe, you know, older machines, or I don't know. I'm just taking a guess, but I feel like the higher you go in financial, doesn't like the equipment get better or something? Like I remember one guy I used to talk to, he worked for a network that supported high-speed trading. And he was talking about like multicast everywhere and like a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I've seen a ton of enterprises not even turn on multicast, you know, like,
right.
You know, and he's talking about high speed, you know, they're not using NTP for timing, they're using PTP. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. And when I hear stories about these branches, I just kind of feel like they're like ice cream stands in the middle of a parking lot somewhere or something.
So it's a balance. Like the bank that I was at, when we were there, like they were like refused to have internet connectivity. Like we had an internet connection, but the firewall turned it off, like at the edge. Like it really was only to sit out for like a DMZ, but nothing at all came in. The desktops didn't have any type of connectivity. We couldn't do updates. And it was like this really weird type situation. And they didn't have internet until after I left, which was like 2005-ish. And so like it was, you know, people were connected to the internet at that time, but they were just, nope, don't want anything to do with it. Now the global financials, they don't move quickly necessarily. They don't move quickly necessarily, but they do have some advanced stuff, but it depends on what it is. So when you talk about like high frequency traders, they have a lot of advanced stuff. But when you talk about like just like a regular everyday big banks, no, not really. And so it's interesting. I have a meeting coming up where I'm talking very first steps SD-WAN with a bank that you absolutely would recognize the name of next week. And like they're just now like dipping their toe. Right. And they're big that I imagine most of the people on this stream would have some sort of interaction with them in one way or another in their life. You know, like it's, you know, like they're just getting started. So it's all right. So now we're We're gonna bring Donald on. Donald felt bad. You don't have to feel bad, Donald. That was more me than you, man.
I should feel bad. Definitely.
You should feel bad. And we have Jennifer Mann, who's supposed to be joining us as well, but I think she's having some issues getting connected. And so we're going to chat for a second while I try to help her out and get connected. She said she doesn't have a video, but just audio.
You speak of not having internet. My second job did not have internet. I had to dial in with a modem to get to the World Wide Web. But they didn't provide that. I used my own account.
Oh, I've got a good story around this. I've got a great story around this.
Wait, hang on. Donald is doing like shadow IT, like before that term was coined. He's like, oh, you don't have internet? You got a phone line? I'll bring in my own modem. We'll get this place wired.
So I did exactly that at this bank I was talking about. It's far enough removed now. I think it's fine to talk about. When I first started working there, I did data processing. It wasn't even IT. I was working the overnight shift. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. It was amazing. But in doing the overnight shift, no one was around, and there would be whole times that I'm just waiting for a computer program to finish, and there was really nothing for me to do. And so I literally found one of the machines that had a modem on it and a phone line connected to it that was to go out to the internet. Or not to go out to the internet, but it was meant to connect to a partner. They connected to a partner. And this is before, I was young. I had no college. I was just out of high school. I had only fooled around with computers, but I had been interested in security overall. So I should have known better than to do this, but I did it anyway. I brought in my credentials and the phone number and all the stuff to connect to our dial-up ISP. And I would do this. And then came around the idea of the Slammer worm. Do you guys remember Slammer? Mm-hmm. Slammer was a SQL worm, right? Guess what this box had on it? It had SQL on it. And guess what happened as soon as you connected the internet with a SQL port wide open? In comes Slammer. It was a worm that it took seconds to get compromised. And so one night I did this and I had no idea it was compromised, not a clue. I was on the internet. I was using it. I stopped it and disconnected and went home because I was the only one there at night doing this data processing. And the next day I get asked, did you do anything last night? I'm like, and the answer was nothing different because I did this all the time. Like it wasn't something new. No, it's all the same stuff. They had spent the whole day trying to recover their network, which was completely unusable because Slammer was just rampant and reinfecting their network over and over and over again. So yeah, I introduced Slammer by shadow IT through a modem connecting to a dial-up ISP because they didn't provide internet, and it's ridiculous. Sorry.
So I think that's the real lesson of tonight, right? It was not so much as Laz's story, but Laz was like a primer for the real lesson, right? Where shadow IT is the worst, is the ultimate threat vector.
We're going to try one more time to have Jennifer connect, and if she can't, then we might have to postpone our competition or just have Donald run through it.
And yeah, I'll play him. We'll both have the same feed. Yeah, I'll play him.
All right,
but I couldn't be. I can't be a champion, but I can be an opposing force. But yeah, I hope she can get dialed in.
Yeah, we'll give her one more second. So working at the bank was an interesting place, and then I moved on to a place that was always unconnected, and it was like yes. Because the amount of nightmare that was to try to get anything done. Now this was like just on the edge of when internet was becoming ubiquitous. And so in that we still were familiar enough with working offline that it wasn't so crazy, but like trying to find an answer if something, she said she tried a different browser. She said she'd find, we can put someone else through. So here's the deal. Laz was third. I'm bringing Laz back on. We'll do Laz. Yeah. So Laz, do not connect to the same one that I just sent you before because you kicked Donald off. Laz, I'm going to send you connection info in the Slack for sure. Sorry, Jennifer, that you couldn't make it on. We will maybe interject you into a future one. We'll find a way to make it work. So Tony, have you ever worked when you started later, right? So you started when everything was already ubiquitous internet. You didn't have to sneaker net like Donald and I did. Did you have any scary moments, Donald, when you sneaker net connected, or not sneaker net, when you without necessarily being within the system?
Well, it wasn't really. It was a small little computer company that my computer wasn't even connected to a network. It was a standalone computer they handed me.
Okay.
It literally, I went to work. I didn't have a laptop. I had a computer. I worked on the computer, and it didn't have a network.
Yeah. That wasn't. I mean, that wasn't that odd in that time frame.
Yeah, the one fun thing I did, like my first job, they had a ISP attached to it, so people would phone bank in, and I set up a Quake server. They let me set up a Quake server if I helped out occasionally, and so I had the ability to play directly from my modem to the first hop, which was the computer, and have a really low ping. So that was really great.
Nice. All right, I'm getting Laz connected right now. I see that he's on. He can't talk to us yet because I haven't unmuted. But now I have to go in and update his name tag because now Donald's in the.
Yeah. But when you say a really low ping, I mean, I'm not much of a computer gamer or a gamer at all. But my son is. Now he's 10, and so he's all into playing games. And I don't know, most of the games he plays has a little meter at the top, and it tells you what your ping is, your ping latency. Mm-hmm. And he'll be playing a game, and he'll be like, no, guys, hang on, my ping is too high. Like him and his friends, they all know what like ping time is, but they don't understand what it is at all. They just know when it hits the 3 digits, there's a problem.
Well, it makes a difference, and when you were playing on dial-up modems, it made a huge difference that you didn't have to go multiple hops across the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Laz and Donald, you both should have the Kahoot pin. I think I sent it to you in Slack.
Oh my goodness. I should do that.
You should get, I mean, you connected to, the video stream early, but not the Kahoot game, which would have been
what am I doing?
Consequential at all.
You guys mesmerize me.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that effect on people.
All right, I'm coming. I'm doing it.
So wait a second. Who did the finals last week? Let's see. It was Donald and
Jay
and Jay. That's right. Jay. Donald and Jay. Okay.
Yep.
That's right. So now it's Donald and Laz. Okay. So we're staying within the Network Collective community, the Network Collective family. It's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving when Donald sits down at the head of the table.
Yes, Laz, you were muted. He sent me a message. Like, am I still muted?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, all right, Laz, you
I
did
tried
win.
making a modem dial-up joke and I didn't get it out. I was like,
oh, all right. So Laz, you did win. You won trivia. Actually, Jennifer beat you, but she couldn't connect today. We're sad about that, but now you get to join. So I'm going to make sure that this is all set up the way that I want it to be set up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think we're good.
This is when we need the background music.
Yeah, this is where we need it. All right. So we have our bars up so people can't jump in the game. That's what I had to check, is that we didn't have the pin out there on full display for everybody. You guys ready?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, this is exciting.
Oh, so exciting.
I don't know what the questions are.
It's something.
it's a thing. I'll fail.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Standard IP header.
Ooh, I like this one. I like it a lot.
Bytes or words?
Bytes.
Why didn't you ask it in words? Because it displays it in words in the header, doesn't it?
Doesn't the words have a byte value?
I'm just asking.
Laz, you just bailed on that one?
No. That's weird.
We only got one answer.
All right.
Well, there's only 5 questions, so I hope you you get this next one.
I got it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Oh, and she did get connected. That's great. All right.
1943.
43.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That's not an option.
It's going to be early. It's going to be 1971. Clearly.
Yeah, 1971. The answer's right up there.
That was the year before I was born, and that's when all the
say.
things happened.
1971. It was the press who started calling it Silicon Valley. So there you go. A little bit of history for you. All right. All right, Laz, you got to kick it up, man.
Laz, are you not answering?
No, he answered that one just wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was 68.
All right. Of the 12 bits that make up a VLAN ID, how many VLAN IDs are possible?
Ooh, that's mean.
it's
really
not
is.
mean. It's fair.
Yeah, we got tripped up somebody with it.
Yeah, I got tripped up.
You got tripped up?
I deal with that one every day.
All right. All right. Laz making the comeback. All right.
Dun, dun.
We're over halfway through. Let's do the next one. The network LSA.
That's one of my favorite LSAs.
That meme is a hint, by the way. And for those who get it, they'll like it. And for those who won't, they'll think I'm weird.
So you say this, but you know what I spent all day doing?
What did you do today, Donald?
Debugging OSPF.
I'm sure you did.
OSPF issue.
All right. Last
Static
question.
routing's the only routing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
You're right.
Anyone's game still.
All right. Last one is not a technical question.
I don't know the name, but I know I've definitely heard the story.
That Menlo
Wow.
Computer Club was my answer. I put that in there to trip somebody up, and it worked.
That's what I was going to say.
All right. What do we got? Look at that. Robot Master 2K. Donald, you are now not only the first champion of Network Collective, you are the first person to run a streak on Network Collective. That is
I'm gonna be an unstoppable force or something.
And for you, Laz,
do you need me?
What for me?
Do you need me to do it?
I can't.
Are you
I'm
having
hitting the
issues?
sound effects.
Yeah.
I'm hitting the sound.
I wouldn't take that, Laz.
That one is for Laz. The double one is for Tony for not being able to run the sound effects. He broke. Are you talking to us? Because now you're muted.
Yeah, fucking.
Oh, there it is again. Oh man. All right. All right, guys. Well, this was fun. Donald Sharp continues to win. Apparently now it's just going to be we're gonna rename it from Network Collective Trivia to Who Can Beat Donald Sharp.
Yeah.
Like the old game Who Can
Sharp
Win Einstein
Trivia.
Are you
You literally have
Donald?
the perfect
Are you
name.
sharper than a Donald?
Are you sharper than a
Yeah.
Donald? Oh,
That's what I want to know.
nice.
There you go.
I don't
So
know.
next week, are you sharper than a Donald?
We'll see.
All right, guys.
And if
Thanks
anyone wants to make that like an image that we can use, I'll put it up there.
yeah, sounds good. I'll put some music behind it. We'll do a graphic reveal on it. It'll be hot. It'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for playing, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, let's give those guys a second to disconnect, and then we'll. Apparently, we don't have to wait for anyone to disconnect. We can just tell the next person who's coming on. Just disconnect.
You just kick the person off in front of you.
Yeah. Just.
It's like jumping the line.
All right.
Don't even hold back.
So coming up here and getting connected, I'm sure in the process is Kevin Myers, and I'm excited to have Kevin on. Yeah, exactly. Oh, he has notifications turned off. I probably should push it at him just to make sure that he gets it. So Kevin Myers is going to come on. So we've been talking zero tier, and we got asked this question last week in the chat. There he is. Let's bring him on. We got asked this question last week. Is this something like where we're getting paid?
It says Donald Sharp.
Oh, I've got to fix that
says
too.
Donald Sharp.
There's not enough
work to do.
There's not enough time to.
Go ahead. You fix that. I'll take the background.
Go for it.
So last week someone had put in the chat that, are we getting paid to talk about zero tier? And the answer is no. We really aren't. Not here from Network Collective, at least. And but we wanted to be able to showcase some of the cool things that we do. And sometimes a lot of these things, these tools and networking tricks and stuff that we do kind of stay within our Network Collective community over in our Slack group. And this was sort of an opportunity to share some of those things with the rest of the world. And so there's a number of cool things that zero tier can do for us. And it just makes a couple of things easier. So while we're not getting paid for it, we do want to be able to show you guys some cool stuff. And Kevin Myers is someone who's doing some really cool stuff. If you want to know anything that's going on that's cool in networking, Kevin Myers has done it or is doing it all the time.
He does it different.
In our chat.
And he does it different than anyone else. Because he finds all the fun little niche places in networking. He plays with all the toys that no one else will even risk playing with. And then he builds better networks than the rest of us.
Better networks.
Better than the rest of us, using all the stuff that like most enterprises kind of just, turn their nose up at.
And so while I was demonstrating some sort of like corner cases of zero tier and just a little bit of zero tier introduction, I think Kevin Myers is going to show you sort of how he has designed a few things leveraging zero tier and what an example of that looks like.
That's right.
So Kevin Myers, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then jump into your what you want to show us today.
Yeah, sure. Am I hot for audio? You guys got me 5x5?
We got you, but is it through your desktop or is it through your headset? It sounds a little thin. Just to double check to make sure.
It's in my headset. I'm pretty sure it's in my headset. I can hook the snowball up though if we need to. Yeah, it's on my headset.
Okay, then we're good.
A little weak.
Then we're good.
Here, I'll put a little closer to the mouth.
Oh, that made a big difference. Yeah,
that made a big difference. Okay, we'll put it closer. Cool. So my name's Kevin Myers. I'm a senior network architect at IP Architects and also one of the co-founders. And as Jordan and Tony said, we do cool stuff. I learned a long time ago that my ideal job didn't exist, so I just created it because I wanted to do basically the things that I wanted to do in networking. And so I started consulting, and I've worked in telco networks, service provider networks, and I did a stint in enterprise networking. I worked as a network architect for a Fortune 500 for a few years, and then finally went into consulting full time, and I've been doing that for about the last, about decade or so. And we work on all kinds of different stuff. As Jordan said, we work with a lot of different unique technologies. We work with a lot of white box, disaggregated networking stuff. Pretty much all the white box players that you've heard about, the NOSes, we work with those, IP Infusion, Cumulus Linux, Arcus, there's a few others we play with. We're playing around with Sonic right now in our labs and things like that. And then we get into things like MikroTik and Ubiquity and build some solutions out with that, which is there are a lot of commodity hardware out there that you can use. And then we do the traditional stuff too. And we do Cisco and Juniper and Nokia and things like that. But we get into kind of a little bit of everything. So, that's my basic background.
Before you go, Kevin, I just need you to publicly tell everyone what your favorite switch is.
What my favorite switch is?
Yeah, what your favorite switch is. You shouldn't have to think about this. We talked about this.
It depends on my, if I'm going to go with my all around favorite box and we're going to money is no object, it's probably the Nokia 7750.
You do realize
the unicorn network box. It literally does everything.
I remember the Nexus pain onto yourself now by not admitting that I gave you the opportunity to alleviate yourself from the curse of Nexus, because you're admittedly
I fight against it every day.
Not a huge fan. You can make it do what it needs to do, and it has its place. You are very fair about the way you approach equipment, so that's not it. But you have a somewhat critical view of Nexus most of the time, and And you are working on a new project where you had to go out, I love this, and buy Nexus switches.
I just put the shipping information in for it today. Yeah, so we had a client that had Jordan, you and I have talked about this. We came up on the 2K, 5K, 7K data centers, and that was, what I worked on a decade ago. And so there's a lot of clients that still run that architecture. And we were working with the VMs. I think Don Sharp messed with one of those for Nexus. He had a hand in one of those, was working on those at one point. And so, we run EVE-NG a lot, which is actually something I'm going to get into on the zero tier thing as far as what we run in our own data center. Because one of the things that we did to support the work that we do is we went and just outfitted our own data center. We've got a suite up in a data center in Denver, and I've got 5 cabinets up there now. We can go up to about 15, and we just use it for various stuff in the company and things that we need, and we do a lot of R&D work up there. But this client has traditional 2K, 5K, 7K, and we couldn't really get done what we needed to test in EVE-NG, and we were like, well, these things are a few $100. I mean, shockingly, a 7010 completely outfitted with cards and everything is $600, for everything.
I knew what those things cost when they first came out. That is,
I saw it
shocking.
when we bought ours. Yes. The enterprise I worked for. I mean, we were in a lot of zeros behind that number. They were very expensive, and so I got 2 of them. And the best part was they came with 64 SFPs. Not only did I get 4 F2 line cards and two SUP 2Es per chassis, but they each came with 64 10 gig SFPs. So I have 120, and that was $1,200, by the way, for both of those. I have 128 10 gig SFPs now in the lab. But yeah, so I just decided to put it in the data center, and that's one of the things that will connect with zero tier is not only our access, but I'm probably going to build a tenant space for it so that if the client needs to use it as part of our transition in this data center that we're going through, the console server and the lab-like dev space that we built around it, we can actually, enable that connectivity safely, and with some ACLs. So, if they need to access it. So I bought 2 big Nexus switches today off eBay.
That's cool. And before we go, I definitely want to give you the reins, but there's one other thing I want to call out. Not just doing cool networks, but you're also an author. This is pretty cool. Destabilizing Networks for Beginners, the definitive guide, written by Kevin Myers. So I just wanted to call that out. If you guys are looking for a good definitive guide on destabilizing networks, Kevin is the authoritative source. And so
changing things in the middle of the day, it's the way to do it.
It's the way to do it. So Kevin, man, we'll stop messing around. We'll give you the reins and let you go and kind of explain it. Is your desktop shared? Let me see.
It's about to be. We're about to have some zero tier action.
All right, so I'm going to bring it up.
And I just want to repeat that this is not a paid sponsorship. This is just cool stuff we're doing with cool tools.
We think it's cool. So we focus on zero tier because in the Slack we talk about it a lot. There's a lot of people who really enjoy using it, and we think that it's kind of a microcosm, or not a microcosm. I think it's a little pocket. There's a bunch of network engineers who talk about it and love it, but generally I don't think a lot of people have been exposed to it. And so I think just kind of like showing you, hey, there's some other options out there, some things that do some cool stuff, and they're used in real networks. To kind of just call it out. But we're going to use this spot to demo anything that we think is cool. We just decided to do kind of a series on zero tier because there was enough there. And so Kevin, we're going to let you bring up the focus here and talk about what it is that you're doing and take it away, man.
Cool. So we're going to deep dive into, this is an idea that came out of, it was really, I think, a discussion between, it was in Network Collective. It was in the Slack, actually. Nick Baraglio and I think a few other people are involved in this discussion, and we were talking about zero tier. And at the time, I didn't know what it was, and I think this was maybe a 3 years ago. And so we started messing around with it to see what it could do, and started looking at this concept of a mesh VPN, because up to that point, I don't think WireGuard existed at that point. You didn't have that in play. And you didn't really have a mesh VPN unless you were doing DMVPN. That was really it. Or you were going to do some kind of scripting with tunnels or, something like that, or build a full mesh of tunnels. So you didn't really have anything like this. And so, you guys have done a really good job of explaining, what zero tier is, and you've gotten into the protocol stack and packet captures and things like that. But I will say one of the things that was attractive to us is the fact that they figured out a way to build L2 without blowing everything up. So they make some very conscious choices in the way that they treat broadcast and converting it into multicast, and the way that they break up the MTU, which was another piece of zero tier that really appealed to us, because when you have a higher MTU, because I think it's like 3,000 or something that you can do, it's, it's beyond 1,500, and they're doing some kind of an intelligent deconstruction of the packet to like sort that out where you're not getting into packet fragmentation. But it allowed us to do MPLS. So if you want to do like something like multi-tenancy between a couple data centers, and you want to do signaling averse, whether that's MPLS or segment routing or something like that, you can actually use this protocol to put MPLS over and just run an MPLS network over the internet. And there's an allure to that, because there's a lot of networks where we run MPLS, whether it's provider, we've done it in the energy sector, where you need to extend that MPLS network over the internet and make it look and feel like a private circuit, even though it's not. So zero tier gives you the ability to really do that. Our joke is we call it switch port as a service, because you can literally just drop a VLAN pretty much wherever you need it. And like this part is actually not a terribly new idea if you follow what's happening in the IX market. There are some companies that are building these switch ports that you can enable in software in the IX market, that if you want to be able to enable an IX like anywhere on the planet, and if you are in Chicago and you want to peer into AMS IX in Amsterdam or DKIX over in Frankfurt, you can literally just get a 10 gig port into this software defined switch port thing and literally just build a port over to Europe if you want to and participate in IX. So this kind of thing has been happening in the IX and transport industry, but now you have a piece of software that lets you do similar things. And the thing that was attractive to me, even though we're not running it yet, and it's kind of one of my future considerations, is you could do something like ISIS. If you need to run ISIS, your options for tunneling, because it operates at layer 2, are a lot more limited if you're needing to go over the internet, be encrypted, and have something that's going to function the way that you need it to. You don't have as many options for ISIS. So this is a really cool solution. So going back to the conversation with Nick, where we started, looking at this idea, we started running zero tier on clients first. Like we put it on our phones, we put it on our laptops, we put it on some of the computers at the data center, put it on a few cloud things, and you started noticing, hey, I can just get to everything. It just works. So then we started messing around with, well, what if we combine it with routing? And what if we find a way to use this in the way that we would if you were to buy an L2 multi-point service to connect your data centers together and then connect routers to it? So that was kind of the next evolution of what we started messing around with. So we found OpenSense, which is a fork of PFSense, and found that it not only had a module for zero tier that was already pre-built, it also had a module for free range routing. So the very first thing that we tried as we lit it up, I've got a hypervisor in our data center that's just dedicated to NFV. So if I need a virtual router, firewall, or anything, there's a pair of hypervisors that we run. That's all they do. And they just have a pair of LACP channels back into the DC core so that you can tag VLANs and just kind of build whatever routing path that you need. So that's what I turned up OpenSense on that. And then once we had that up and running and could connect to the internet, we were able to land zero tier on it and then turn up free range routing. And what made that really cool is I've already got an IBGP ASN running in the data center. So all I really had to do was peer OpenSense into the data center route reflectors so that any of the routes that were coming in on zero tier would actually get distributed via BGP throughout the entire DC. So that made everything reachable that was in zero tier. So the other nice thing is if you put those networks into your zero tier controller under the part where you put your injected routes in there, then everybody that's on that network can get to that stuff. So that was the first iteration of what we tried. So if you look at the drawing over here that I've got up and you see our physical DC over here in Denver, and you look at, I've got a remote worker at a house here, they could be, they could be anywhere connected to the internet. That was the first use case was if you look at all the different things that we have, and how do I zoom here, Jordan? Do I just need to zoom myself here, or do you guys need to zoom?
No, yeah, you'd have to zoom yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
Got it. Okay, cool. So anyway, my paging around here isn't working. But if you look at the stuff that we have in there as I zoom in, we put a few different things in there. We put jump hosts into our clients. So one of the things that we'll do is we work with different client networks is we'll get a point-to-point VPN built up. We'll do some whitelists of our data center IP space to build up the VPN and access resources. And so to make it easier for our engineers to access those resources, by lighting up zero tier, they can join into our remote worker network, which you can see here in the middle is a let me zoom out just a second, just a touch. We've got a subnet here that I wish Nick Russo was on, because he loves this range, the carrier grade NAT range, 100.64.00/10 space. We use that a lot in a lot of things that we
use. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that considering the RFC was written 10 years ago and we're now like starving for IPv4, I think Google uses it on their campus networks. Lumen Level 3 uses it on all their L3 VPNs. I think everybody's kind of realized that we're just going to use it. So yes, I mean, we use it, and I love it for using point-to-point links, loopbacks, and things where you don't want RFC 1918 space. It's a great range for that. And obviously we use it for CGNAT too, because I do ISP work, which is what the original intent was. But that's our so that's our /24 that we use. We've got IPv6 in there as well that we have from the data center in the global unicast space. And so if you're a zero-tier client, you can join in, you get IPs in this space, and then you can access those resources based on DNS. And what's really cool is that, at least in Windows, and we've had to monkey with this in Linux and some other operating systems, but in Windows it actually lets you specify DNS for different network adapters. So it knows whatever network adapter you're going over, it would use the DNS for that network adapter. Most of the people on our team are Windows-based, so all they have to do is hard code the DNS for the company DNS, which is out of our Denver data center, with Quad 9 as a fallback. And so when I'm going to the internet, it's going to use my local DNS, but when I'm going to these resources, it's going to use the private DNS so that we can get to all the applications. So that part actually works really, really well. And that gives us access to anything we need. And then if they need to appear as if they're coming from the data center through one of the IP spaces that we whitelist for getting into stuff, you can do that by bouncing through there. And I think when you guys were on the session, I don't think it was last week, it may have been the week before, one of the use cases that I highlighted, if I scroll back out here and look at the drawing and move it over, I may have to exit full screen view to get back to where I need to be. So if you go down here into, I've got a Cloud DC in Amsterdam. So we've got a team in Europe, and we have a lot of clients in Europe. And one of the things that was really helpful is I was over in Prague for a conference, and I needed to actually get to something out of our Amsterdam DC. And I put this as a comment in your last live stream. And if in a traditional VPN, I would have had to go hairpin through Denver, and I would have connected, gone back across the Atlantic, hairpin through Denver, and then come back to get into this Cloud DC to get these resources in Amsterdam. And I was like on a train in the Czech Republic on their, broadband that was on the train. So because it's a mesh VPN and you could take the fastest path, I was literally able to just connect to the fastest path to Amsterdam to get to those resources in zero tier. And so my latency and responsiveness and ability to use that application was way, way better than if I was boomeranging back through Denver across the Atlantic. And because we have a globally distributed workforce, we've got a team in South America, we've got a team in Europe, and then we do projects all over the world. We've got a few different Cloud DCs stood up. We've got one on AWS in South America that we do kind of the same thing with, where if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of the drawing here, we can actually have a client attached to, whichever continent they need to, and then whoever's working in that continent can attach to the nearest zero-tier point. So, whether that's in the EU, whether it's in the US, and that way you're not always hairpinning, because that was another challenge that we found out, especially working in South America, where South America's internet architecture is heavily dependent on Miami, actually, because there's a lot of countries that won't build fiber across the borders to each other. So they all kind of come to Miami, and then we'll switch back down into South America. So what was happening when we were working on clients in South America is they were having to come up and boomerang through Miami to begin with, and then we were sending that traffic to Denver and hairpinning through there. And so we had these really long latency times as everything was kind of bouncing all over the world trying to get into these VPNs, especially if we had an engineer that was in South America working on it. So by landing this OpenSense with zero tier in that region, we could terminate the client's VPN in that region, and then whoever's in that region could use zero tier to just get to that nearest point. So it really opened up a lot of flexibility for us, for remote workers, because not only can we secure it by enforcing policy, per remote worker if we want to, but it also shortens the trip to work on that stuff. So that, that's something that was really attractive to us. And then if you look at if you look down here, I've got a couple other things here. We've used a combination of Ubiquity routers as well as OpenSense on a VM. The Ubiquity routers give you access to the shell, so you can kind of get in there and install a package. It was a great how-to guide, which I can send you guys if you want for the show notes. that I found somebody else had written up on how to make an Ubiquiti router a zero-tier gateway. And the only downside is they're not at super high speed. Like you only got like 40 or 50 meg through them. So if you want some like really serious horsepower, you definitely want to go put in like x86BM or something like that. But if you just need access to applications, you're not moving a lot of workloads around, it's a great little box to use because you can put zero-tier on it, combine it with BGP. So one of the other nice things is all of these, there's another piece that I didn't have in the drawing is there's another zero-tier network that I have that we can do BGP peering over the zero-tier network so that these different sites can talk to each other on BGP and just exchange routes as needed. So that's another advantage is not only can you use it for remote workers, but you can also build a zero-tier network for yourself and use it as, in the IX world, we call it a peering fabric. And those are incredibly expensive, and they use like EVPN, VXLAN to build all this on a global scale. But you can take zero-tier and do the same thing over the internet, is basically build your own peering fabric between DCs. So that's one of the other use cases that we have in using zero-tier.
Yeah, Kevin, that's pretty cool. I just had a question since you've obviously have a much more distributed architecture than my examples that I've given over the past live streams. Have you crossed the point of needing to create your own moon yet? Because zero-tier has this concept of planets, and planets, Earth, Moon, are these sort of the different tiers of their architecture. And so you can create your own moon, which is like is not the same thing as a controller, but it becomes that one central point where all of your nodes will register with and route through if they can't reach each other directly. So I was just curious, because I haven't crossed that threshold yet. I have no need to. The free tier from zero-tier works just fine for me. So have you come close to that part yet? Have you done that?
It's in the works. We're going to deploy it because we've gotten to the point like where we actually use one of the paid versions of zero-tier because we use it for, we started on the free tier and then we used it enough that we decided to go with the paid version of zero-tier. So we still use their controller, but one of the things that we're working on, and there's another kind of little slide deck that I'll show you guys on some two-factor authentication stuff that we're working on as a middleware for it, and that is going to be part of that, is rolling out our own controller, our own moon, so that we can, if you need to like bridge those 2 points together and make that a throughput point, that's something that's in our control. And then also having the endpoints, running, basically compiling that so that you have the endpoints running all on your own internal system. So it's something that we started to mess with in dev, but we haven't rolled out. But there's a middleware that we're working on, like I said, for the two-factor. So I think that's all going to like roll out in the same kind of space here in the next few months as we get that all ready. Because looking at it and being able to like own it and control it, especially since we have our own data center and we have cloud data centers in other continents, but we're looking at landing a physical data center in Europe as well as in South America to support the consulting work that we do. So I would love to actually have that infrastructure in-house so that we can run it.
Yeah, and I know they also have a pretty robust rules engine that allow you to do like different types of filtering and stuff like that. Now that's something that I haven't needed to dive into yet. I don't know if I ever will. Is that something that you've messed with? Have you found a use for tuning those rules and things?
What's nice about it is that it pushes that rule set to the endpoint. So if there's something that you want to enforce to that zero-tier ID endpoint through the controller, it basically compiles that rule set and pushes it to the endpoint. So if you want a specific endpoint, like I'll give you a good example. We had somebody that was doing some work as a contractor. And so I needed them to get into some resources, but I didn't really need them to get into everything. So what I was able to do was, we have some firewall rule sets that are internal to the data center because we've got a few different VRFs that we have in there. We have a corp VRF and a dev VRF, but I just wanted that person to be able to get to this one thing. So I literally just joined him in and set the rule set to push. It's like, you can get to this one IP and you get to these ports. And all I had to do was go throw that in the controller and then boom, I can take this person in, they can get to this one thing and that's all they can get to. And then as soon as they got to what they needed, I was able to de-off it and they were off. So it made for a really quick, fast, smooth way to bring somebody into a resource that you need without giving them access to the entire environment. And then if you layer that with the firewall rules that you might already have, because we already had OpenSense running as a firewall between VRFs and controlling access to VRFs, then I had another set of rules that controlled access. So it gave me two different tiers of ACL control to be able to kind of fine tune what we wanted to have access to.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. I mean, I haven't crossed that line yet. So I know who to go to when I have questions now.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and I've only scratched the surface. Like, I've played with some of them, but there's so much stuff you can do. In fact, this might be a good segue into the next piece that I've got, which is our middleware piece that we're kind of messing around with, because it actually has some of the flow rules into that. So
yeah, go ahead.
One of the things we started thinking about was zero tier doesn't really have a way to do two-factor the way you would if you're going to do any connect with Cisco or Pulse VPN or something like that. So one of the things we started thinking about is how do we take all the things we love about zero tier and also try to bring two-factor into it. Now, this isn't something we've built yet. This is still in concept. We're still putting the pieces together, but as we go build our own moons and our own controller, this is a piece of a middleware we're going to add to it's kind of a single sign-on box that we're actually building that's custom to the work that we do, that's got Radius and LDAP in it. So we're thinking about adding this into this build that we've already got, doing like kind of a single sign-on. And basically the idea is that we would have this middleware tier that accesses the API for zero tier, so that we would bring into a network ID. If you take a network ID in zero tier and you're bringing somebody in, that you would actually default authorize them into that network. And then you would have these flow rules that would basically restrict them from going to anywhere except for this middleware engine that then becomes a redirect, almost like a hotspot. And so if you have this middleware engine and it's in the same...
I was going to say, this is sounding a lot like a guest portal. You sort of get like some basic access, but you only get forwarded to an authorization page where you have to authenticate and authorize yourself.
Yeah, if you look at the rule set here, there's a redirect. There's actually a 302 redirect that happens to this IP here, which would be this middleware inside there. So it's going to act a little bit like a hotspot, but the real goal of it is to just get you into the authentication phase of, I want to go through two-factor authentication. So you authorize them into the controller sees them, it sees what IP they have. So the minute you authorize someone in, you can see what IP they have and send them via redirect to this auth screen. So I'll go down just a little bit to the next piece. And so the flow rules get added. So you can actually add flow rules via API. So the other thing that we were looking at doing is based on what group they're in an LDAP or like how we want to authorize them, you can actually capture the IP that zero tier has assigned them and then feed that back into the flow rules. So that we'll actually be able to say, okay, here's your IP. I'm going to put you into the flow rules, and then I want to do these things with you and allow you access to these things. So at this point, once you've captured their source IP in zero tier and the network ID that they've been given, you have this redirect that's happening. So let me go down just a little bit more. And then once you get to that point, let me zoom out just a little bit so it's a little easier to see. I think I need to go one more slide down. So once you get to that point, you actually have an accept. So if you look down here, it says perform any auth you want, all 2FA, 3FA, all the FAs. So you can do any, whatever you want to offload it to. We use that middle SSO piece to do the 2FA, authorize them, and then flow that back in via API into zero tier that we've already added their destination IP. We've got that in the flow rules. And then we've got it to the point where they can actually access resources once the 2FA goes through. And that will get them end-to-end all the way through once the API flows the result of the 2FA back in. And then if you see all the lines are green at the end of this, and again, this is a work in progress. So we don't think we have this totally finished, but this is what we're working towards. And then once you get to the end of that, then basically you can adjust the flow rules to where you can allow them to go wherever you want them to go based on LDAP, and they're green all the way through once they pass 2FA. And then some of the things that we looked at that you could do, which I think are, they're actually going to be in the bottom right corner here, so I'll try to move them up just a little bit because I think my head might be blocking them. So one of the things we thought about with this middleware is once we get this process down and kind of figured out where it's secure and it works the way that we want to, then we could take it and you could keep the authenticated IPs like the public IPs. So we actually, one of the things we wanted to do is once we see the IP that a user is coming in from, that we can add it to a whitelist on the BGP border routers in the ASN of our data center, so that if we know it is an authenticated user, we can add it to a whitelist. And if we see any malicious attempts to join the controller, then we'll actually block that at the BGP border router, not even let them get into the, into zero tier, even in the interior of the DC, and use that to be, kind of a defense in depth strategy to keep malicious attempts to join, if there are any, out of there. Then you can do time-based deauthorization. So if you only want them to be online for a certain amount of time, like you would on a VPN for any connect, you can say time after 4 hours, after 8 hours, or whatever. We could have device limits per user, permit or deny split tunneling. If you want to allow it, zero tier allows you to send a default down to the client if you want to. And then using the flow rules, you could easily permit, only RFC 1918 or, everything, and, pretty easily identify the space that you're going to go to for public, if you want to allow them to tunnel through and access the internet or not. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. The flow rules let you get into a lot of different parts of the header, and you can match in a lot of different things and change a lot of different things. So, and the fact that you can do it all programmatically gives you an enormous amount of flexibility to kind of customize it into, what you want to do. So for us, it's been a really great solution because it makes it easier for us to be distributed globally. And this is, just kind of a bolt-on piece that we're doing to, help beef up the security of the solution so that we've got some kind of 2FA access. And I hope that we'll have this in play in like in the next month or two for testing, and we can update you guys on it again once we actually get it into prod and see how it works.
Yeah, that'll be totally awesome. In fact, that's one of the things that like I love about zero tier is it's not the product itself, right? It's what you can do with it, right?
Yep.
The whole reason you can do this is because zero tier is facilitating one hop away from anywhere in the world. And that just opens the door to so many other opportunities and ways to build on top of it. So again, I mean, zero tier is cool. This is not a paid advertisement. It's cool, but it's only cool because of the stuff you can build on top of it. And in fact, I have more examples to show as well, and hopefully we'll get some videos released on that. So yeah, awesome job, Kevin. I think that's a miles and miles further than any of the things that I'm going to show. And I think that shows the real use case in a production network, you know, and it's super cool. Super cool.
It is very cool.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks for coming on and sharing that with us, dude.
No worries. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, that was great, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you soon, Kevin.
All right,
you,
cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, later.
Thanks.
It was awesome.
All right. Dude, it was awesome. I mean, again, this is not a paid advertisement. We don't get any money for it. Zero tier is cool, not because of the product itself, but because of what you can do with it.
Yep.
You know, and it's about it's giving you a solid foundation to build some cool stuff on top of. So I love seeing, you know, what other people are doing with it. I have one more video to record in my EVE-NG and zero tier tips and tricks tutorial series, and it's going to be pretty cool. And in fact, he touched on it a little bit about what it is. Okay. Kevin has no idea, but actually what I'm going to show you how to build is something that was just mentioned briefly in passing in Kevin's video.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to it. I know you're working on that a little bit. So we'll, and that'll be released Network Collective, right? We're going to put that out on the YouTube channel.
Network Collective.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So that's going to be a 3-part series with one bonus video because I just can't stop.
You always need some bonus. So I had a couple seconds there. Finally had a couple seconds to give a run. You had said I should do some of my astrophotography stuff as a background, and so ta-da!
All right. Whoa! Yeah. Ta-da. You see what I'm saying? Doesn't that look great, everybody?
So let me pull up the picture here so people can see it. So if we merge, this is the Rosette Nebula.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
Very
it's
cool.
the rosette because it looks like a rose. It's not really all that. So this is nearly 3 hours of acquisition time. So it's the amount of time that there's exposures, 5-minute exposures, and so it's an interesting hobby, but you get some really cool pictures out of it. And this is one of my favorites so far. But I'm just starting, so it's a new thing. So there we go. We'll leave it in the background.
Awesome.
So The green screen
awesome.
works well.
I love it.
Yep. All right. So we promised to reveal today. I did.
Yeah.
I did on social media today. And so what I want to do is, I want to do that because we promised it. So coming up next is a segment I think we've all come to love. It was definitely Tony's idea, and he was throwing it out there. But yeah, man, Naked Hardware's been a blast, right? And so And so here,
I was going to say, Naked Hardware's been awesome. It's been well received, and we got some support from the community. And sort of from that, we wanted to sort of take it another level, and make it something even more fun. So Jordan, you have a little surprise for us and our guests.
So we created that cool little logo. How awesome is that?
Yes.
And so
that's the best.
And so the logo's fun. The logo's fun, and it's something that we're working on. In fact, we're going to be doing this, I think, for a lot of our regular segments on the show, is kind of creating a logo and a stinger is what they call it, right? Or that kind of like a short transition between them. But yeah, so that was the first time that's been seen widely in public. But it's not just the logo, right? It's not just the logo. That's part of it. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but for the past hour or so, I've been sipping on a cool, cup of coffee here. Not cool, warm cup of coffee, right? And this is a Network Collective cup. It's not like our other Network Collective coffee cups. It's here, but if I turn it around, I've been very careful not to turn it around.
Put yourself full screen.
Put myself full screen. All right. I've been very careful not to turn it around, but it's not just a Network Collective coffee cup. It is a Naked Hardware coffee cup. So these coffee cups are going to be part of our prizes that we're giving out as we do this competition. So we talked about some cool stuff that was on the way. They showed up in boxes today. Actually, only half of them showed up today. I have another box coming tomorrow, Tony, and I'm going to ship some of those off to you.
Cool.
So you can have one of these cool coffee cups, hang out in the morning. My son is he's like, can I use the Naked Hardware coffee cup? And I'm like, absolutely, man. So I'll have it around. So yeah, it's fun. And you can only get this by winning Naked Hardware or being a host of Network Collective.
That's right. It's very, very limited. It's a very exclusive
edition,
club.
Very exclusive club.
And it's a very prestigious prize. I mean,
you can't tell me any better than this.
When I retire, throw out the Rolex. I want the coffee mug.
That's what you're handing down. That's what you're handing down in your will.
That's right.
The Rolex, forget about that. But the coffee mug, man. So Tony, are you connected? Are you ready to do Naked Hardware today?
Yeah, I am. I am connected. Wait. I am connected, but don't bring my screen up yet. I am connected. So Naked Hardware. Naked Hardware is so much fun. At this part of the show is where normally I would tell you what last week's Naked Hardware was, and then I would be revealing our winners of last week's Naked Hardware. But if anyone watched last week's show, you'll know that last week I didn't have a Naked Hardware image to share with you guys. And because of that, we've had some community submissions. So it's been very awesome. I got access to a whole bunch of images. Thank you, community member. You will remain nameless until I reveal the answers next week, because I don't want anyone skirting the rules and going and bugging them directly for, hey, what kind of lab do you have at home? What's in your lab rack? So this person took some equipment down from their lab rack, took some images, and shared them with me. And so I have a brand new Naked Hardware for us this week. And Naked Hardware is that part of the show where we take a piece of networking hardware. It can be a router, a switch, a firewall, a line card, anything that us networkers use in our lifetimes. And we take the cover off, we take a picture of the inside, and we show it without any clothes on, without its cover or its chassis on. So I have one up, it's ready. What I'll do is I'll just give you a brief peek at this one, and then I'll tweet it out from the Network Collective account. There it is right there. I'll tweet it out, this image out from the Network Collective account, and that's all you get for now. anyone can try and search for that stuff. And if you have an idea of what you think that piece of hardware might be, you go ahead and respond to that tweet with hashtag Network Collective and what your answer might be. And I'll be taking a look at all those throughout this week, getting ready for next week's winner reveal. Now, remember, if you're a winner, first place winner, you get this awesome Naked Hardware coffee mug. You'll be the first person, the first guest to win one in the history of Network Collective.
There you go.
This is the top. This is the Mount Everest.
It doesn't get bigger than this.
Yeah. So yeah, and in fact, for anybody who's played Network Collective with us, I think I have sent out all of the swag bags for all of our previous winners. So they're in route, and I should have sent you a message telling you so, except for one person who won last week. I still need to follow up with them and get that out.
We have one other person that we were waiting for the cups to come in for.
That's right. There's a very special winner who will get a cup.
Yes, who will get a cup, but he didn't win it legitimately, so he won't be the first one. And we have to ship it pretty far, so it's not going to be the first one to show up. So you still can be the first one to legitimately have won by playing in this week's network or Naked Hardware. And again, out to the Twitter account at Net Collective PC is where Tony will be posting that after the show. And be the first. Be the first, and you can win your very own Network Collective Naked Hardware coffee cup. All right, it's so big awesome. Too. It's 16 ounce because we know how it is with caffeine. You
got that right.
We talked about that earlier with 5-hour energy and the Red Bull.
I was gonna say that'll hold. I think 2 5-hour energies and top it off with a little Red Bull.
You probably can get 3 in there. You probably get three. I'd have to see how many ounces are in a 5-hour energy, but yeah, I think you probably could get 3 in there. Probably be a little bit close to the top, but you'd be careful with it. But yeah, I mean, you could give yourself a heart attack in a cup if you absolutely wanted to.
Yeah.
So Tony, I think this is a great place to wrap it up.
That's very awesome.
Naked Hardware is the end of the day.
Let's wrap it up by seeing that clip again.
You want to see it again? Yeah, let me.
I want to see it again.
All right, fair enough. Let's do it. Here you go. So there you go. Tony was all grooving. He's still going.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Jordan makes some awesome stuff. I mean, can you deny it?
Well, I mean, I can.
You can.
It's pretty good.
You can.
It's all right.
It's good.
So just to wrap it up quickly, thanks everyone who joined us for the stream tonight. It was lots of fun. Great playing trivia with everybody. That was great. Thank Laz for coming on and sharing his tales from the trenches, right? Like that was a great story. It reminded me of some of my first days in the industry. Kevin Myers, phenomenal job coming on, sharing how he's using zero tier, practically in his network. It's always good to see. If you've just been around hanging out and chatting with us in the live stream, thanks for hanging out with us. It's lots of fun. These videos are cool afterwards. We need to really get on. And when I say we, I mean me, actually editing these things and getting them out on YouTube. I'm several weeks behind at this point. But the whole live streams are out there. Maybe that's my crutch. The fact that the full live stream is there. If you want to go see it, you can go wade your way through. Yeah. We want to chop them up and make them easy to consume. But we want to get these things out there because we've had a lot of good content, but it's so much more fun to deal with it or to do it in real time and interact with people and kind of get their feedback as things are going on. It's a blast. So if you are here watching, thanks for joining us. If you just happen to stumble across us, networkcollective.com is where you can find all the stuff that we do. We run a regular podcast, lots of great information that's outside of this live stream. Same effort, different media, right? So the podcast is great. You definitely want to go there. We're on social media at NetCollectivePC on Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook. And here, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Wednesdays, weeks.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Yep. 8 p.m. Eastern. And we try to post a notice to let people know when we are going to be live streaming. So if you subscribe and you click the bell, you'll be notified when we both post a update about when we're going to be streaming, which again is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. But you also get notification when we go live. And so you can know what's going on and come on and join the fun. Tony, you got anything else?
Rock on
Rock on.
That's it.
All right. All right. With that being said, everyone have a good night, and we'll see you next week.